Welcome back to another video on the channel. Before I get into today's video, I was a guest on the Game of Love podcast early this week where I talked all things tennis. I thoroughly enjoyed being a guest on that podcast, and it's something that I hope to do a lot more in the future. Ben and JG do some fantastic work interviewing players, doing tournament previews, watch along of matches. So if you do want to check out their content and listen to my episode on their podcast, I will leave a full link in the description below. So getting into today's video, Grand Slam tennis is back and fans are back. I'm so pleased that a live crowd will be back for this Grand Slam. I watch a lot of different sports and I've said from the very start that no sport is the same without a live crowd. There's just that lack of drama, atmosphere, intensity. There's a training session feel to every single sport that you watch without a live crowd. So to have a 50 to 75% crowd capacity back at this year's Australian Open will be fantastic to see. And I'm sure the players can't wait as well to play in front of a live audience. So first off, just a little bit of tournament information about the 2021 Women's Australian Open. The tournament will start on Monday the 8th of February, before the final being played on Saturday the 20th of February. 7 rounds of best of 3 set matches, and the full tournament will be streamed live on Amazon Prime. Now just looking back on the 2020 Women's Australian Open, we had a lot of new Grand Slam quarter-finalists in Ons Jabeur, Anett Kontaveit and Pavlyuchenkova of Russia. The Russian in particular was a very entertaining watch throughout the tournament. She beat Karolina Pliskova, Angelique Kerber, and then battled very hard against eventual finalist Garbiñe Muguruza. Ons Jabeur is very unorthodox and had a great 2020. I've been lucky enough to watch Ons Jabeur live on a grass court and win her maiden grass court title in Manchester of 2018. She's a very nice person on and off court, and I suggest that if you haven't watched Ons Jabeur before, watch her at this event. She's got a very unique game style, uses lots of slices, drop shots, but also pulls out the massive ground strokes, and she's just a great overall watch. That is a thoroughly entertaining player on the WTA and someone that I think can climb inside the top 16 in the next couple of years. Going on to the semi-finals, for me, Garbiñe Muguruza's semi-final against Simona Halep was my favourite match on the WTA in 2020. It was an epic semi-final, 59 winners, and just 2 world-class players going blow for blow on the biggest stage. The quality throughout the match was incredible. Muguruza came through 7-5, 7-5 to reach the final. Sofia Kenin against Ashleigh Barty was also a brilliant semi-final. Despite Barty bringing more experience to the court, being a former Grand Slam champion, having the full support of the Melbourne crowd, it was Sofia Kenin that demonstrated incredible battling qualities, real mental strength, and prevailed 7-6, 7-5. In that final, Muguruza took the opening long demanding set. I think in that final she just hit a bigger ball. She sort of dragged Kenin into a dogfight which suited her rather than the American. The tables turned from set 2. Kenin started to make more returns, read Muguruza's play, which allowed Kenin to have more time and counter-punch with aggression and winners rather than just defend and allow Muguruza to attack from inside the baseline, which is at her best doing. Also, Kenin took away the 1-2 punch by returning deep, which meant Muguruza's biggest weapon was being completely negated. So Sofia Kenin enters this tournament as the defending champion. She didn't play particularly well at the Abu Dhabi at the start of 2021, but I do expect a much better showing from Kenin. So now looking at the 2021 event, the potential matches between the likes of Andreescu, Osaka, Williams, Muguruza, Halep, Barty, Kvitova, Sabalenka, Azarenka, the list is endless. There's so many exciting players out there now, and it's just so exciting for tennis fans. All these players have different styles, the different ages, different stages of their careers, but all bring huge quality, belief and confidence to the court. Anyone who can win a slam in women's tennis deserves immense credit. To beat 3 or 4 top 50 players at the same event takes some serious tennis. Because the level is so high right now, it just makes it more and more difficult. We saw with Iga Swiatek last year at the French Open, ranked outside the top 30. I think she'd qualified for 1 Grand Slam before in her career. Turned up and blew everybody off the court in Paris and registered her maiden Grand Slam title. And I think wins like that from Swiatek and Sofia Kenin and Naomi Osaka just gives these young up and coming players more and more confidence that they can replicate them players and do it themselves. So now I'm just going to preview a few of the standout players that will be looking to fight out for the title in Melbourne. And I'm going to kick off with the returning Bianca Andreescu. Andreescu came through in 2019, winning the Canadian Open, then going on to win the US Open, and she was a player that many people tipped to go on and dominate women's tennis. It looked like it was going to be a change in the guard. She performed incredibly well against Serena Williams in that final, but unfortunately suffered a serious knee injury which sort of wrote off her 2020. Andreescu is a brilliant shot maker. I've been watching a lot of her highlights, particularly from that 2019 US Open, and she has real upper leg strength which allows her to balance herself, hit through the ball and tee off from the forehand or backhand. She gets consistent depth which allows for that just perfect forehand slice that she possesses. She uses that so effectively, and that could be important and a match winner at this event. She came through battles and from difficult positions in that US Open. She was a set down to Elise Mertens in the quarter final, 5-2 down in the second set against Belinda Bencic in the semi-finals, which she won 7-5. Serena obviously was a massive fan's favourite on and off the court, particularly in the US Open. So for a 19-year-old to beat her in straight sets in a final was an immense win, and one that probably went under the radar at the time, I felt. She made a very good start against Serena in that final, very confident, got on the front foot, kept Serena on the run, and despite all the crowd willing for Serena to force a decider, Andreescu won the big points and closed out the match in style. It was just a really, really special performance from Andreescu, and she just brings it all out in court, real energy, entertains the crowd, hits winners for fun, and I think I speak for everyone in saying that we just hope Andreescu has an injury-free spell and continues to light up the courts and fulfil that potential in 2021. Moving on to Sofia Kenin, who, as I mentioned, is defending champion in Melbourne. In my opinion, mentally, Sofia Kenin is already one of the best on the WTA despite being very young. She seems to thrive in pressure situations. She wasn't fazed by the Melbourne crowd in that semi-final against Ashleigh Barty last year. She saved countless break points with aggressive tennis. And Kenin, for me, is a player with a very solid all-round game. You know, she's got good defence, fitness, she's a problem solver, which she showed in that final against Muguruza. And from set 2, she really starts to read opponents well, allowing her to counter punch rather than just get balls back in court, similar to the way Medvedev does on the men's tour. I remember in that final against Muguruza, it was 2-2 on games in the final set. Muguruza got 3 break points, and Sofia Kenin fired back with 4 winners and ace, and went on to win the next 3 games and claim that Australian Open final. And that just sort of tells you all that you need to know about Sofia Kenin. You know, she's got real heart, fight, and she just takes it point by point and produces the best tennis in the biggest moments, which is what separates being a champion and not being a champion. The form in Abu Dhabi that she showed at the start of 2021 was worrying. She didn't seem to have that same intensity, consistency and fight, but I do expect it to be a lot better defending a Grand Slam title. Ashleigh Barty, obviously a massive fan's favourite in Melbourne, the world #1, former Grand Slam champion after winning the French Open, and a very, very good player. Her backhand is a great weapon. She can nail the double-handers across court and down the line, or slice and drop shot for fun, and having that variety along with a powerful forehand and serve makes her a major player, especially on a hard court. And yeah, the crowd support will be bang there for Ashleigh Barty, and I'm sure she goes into this tournament full of confidence and is one of the favourites. Simona Halep is one of my favourite players in the WTA. She's always consistent. You can usually guarantee for Halep to reach at least the quarter-final stage. She only lost out in a thriller against Muguruza at this event last year. I do feel like Halep was up against it when facing really heavy ball strikers on a fast hard court, like an Andreescu or a Serena Williams or Naomi Osaka, but she'll be bang there, fighting hard, running every ball down, and do not write Simona Halep off for the Grand Slam. Garbiñe Muguruza, who I've talked a little bit about in this video, she sort of bounced back to form in 2020 after, I think it's fair to say, a couple of poor years for her standards on the tour. She played brilliant aggressive tennis at last year's Australian Open, but then didn't really perform at the US Open or French, so she is still a little bit unreliable if you consider her overall form for the past 2 or 3 years. At 6 foot, she possesses a very strong serve, dominates from the middle of the court, possesses great angles, Opponents need to keep her on the run. I think that's the key to beating Muguruza, and players have started to work her out a little bit. She was beaten comfortably by Sakkari in Abu Dhabi in the quarterfinals. It was a sort of strange performance from Muguruza in that match, I felt. I think she lacked the confidence in a real game plan. She went into a shell in times in that match, didn't look to attack Sakkari or approach the net, which I think is her best weapon. It was a great performance from Sakkari, who comes into the tournament playing very solid tennis. But I just felt that Muguruza was frightened to play her own game and went into a shell and lost that match convincingly in the end. Serena Williams is always a big player in the draw. You know, she'll be fresh, ready to fire and try to win that record 24th Grand Slam singles title. With Serena, I think if you look at her form of the past 2 or 3 years, it's very, very impressive. And at 39, I think she deserves so much credit for still battling and winning matches against these young, talented players. From round 2 and 3 onwards, the matches get very tough in these women's draws because of the quality that's, you know, in there. And I think with Serena, we've seen her be fatigued by the final and lose against the younger, fresher players like Osaka and Andreescu. But I think Williams has obviously got that advantage of bags of experience, and if she can rattle off the first 2 or 3 rounds and conserve stamina for the quarter-final, semi-final, final, then there's no reason why she can't draw on all of that experience and power and talent and pick up her 24th Grand Slam title in 2021. And finally, Naomi Osaka, who has won 3 hardcore Grand Slams since 2018. And Osaka's just a star now of women's tennis. She makes the game look so easy when everything comes together. And I don't think there's anybody in the world that can defend against the power and precision of her ground strokes, especially backed up with that monster first serve. She won last year's US Open very impressively in 2019. In early parts of 2020, I think she struggled with the pressure of being world number 1 and being this new face of women's tennis. It came onto her very quick. She almost turned into a superstar overnight, and she didn't look to be enjoying her tennis, in my opinion, at that stage. Beating herself up on court, throwing games away in matches. But at the US Open, I was pleased to see and say that she looked like the Osaka that burst on the scene back in 2018, taking each point as it comes, making a lot of first serves, being aggressive with your forehand and bringing that ruthless streak to the court. In a wide open sport, she's the one player, in my opinion, that if bringing her A game can blow everybody off the court. And also Aryna Sabalenka, who I want to talk about quickly as well. She's undoubtedly the form player in the WTA. 3 consecutive titles on a 15-match winning streak. 1 in Abu Dhabi. Just blew everybody off the court at that event. Pure dominance, relentless aggressive ball striking. And Sabalenka's progressing all the time and really improving her all-round game. I think a defensive movement has certainly improved. Overall fitness seems to be better, judging by her recent performances in finals. And she has that confidence, belief, recent winning form. Everything points towards a big run from Sabalenka. But she hasn't been past round 3 of a Grand Slam, I don't think, in her career. So to predict her to win this one would be a little bit premature in my opinion. But she is undoubtedly the form player on the WTA and will be looking to make a big run. In terms of making a tournament prediction, I think the best way of probably doing this is just putting 25 names into a hat and picking one out. The draw is wide open, as we've seen with Iga Swiatek and Sofia Kenin last year. You know, they were down the rankings and not expected to win the events, and they turned up, played fantastic tennis and thoroughly deserved the titles that they picked up. I am going to eliminate Ashleigh Barty and Andreescu from my thoughts in terms of winning the events, although I think they are 2 of the best players in the world. Andreescu didn't play any competitive tennis in 2020, and Ashleigh Barty hasn't played in almost a year either. Other players have that recent winning experience and match fitness, but I do expect both players to have good 2021 seasons. But when you consider the likes of Osaka and Kenin and Sabalenka have been picking up titles consistently and playing a lot of tennis over the last year, I think they might have that competitive and fitness edge over the likes of Barty and Andreescu. Simona Halep is always consistent. As I say, you can usually guarantee her to reach the business end of Grand Slams, but I just think against the likes of Osaka and Williams, who probably hit a bigger ball and have a stronger first serve than Halep, would have the edge over the Romanian. Muguruza, I don't think is playing well enough to to win this event. I wasn't impressed with her at all in Abu Dhabi. She did bounce back to form at this event last year, so that could happen again. But in terms of picking a winner, I think the safest one is Naomi Osaka. You know, she's won those 3 hardcore Grand Slams since 2018, and as I mentioned, I just think when she brings that ruthless streak to the court, the forehand and serve really fire. I think there's nobody in the world that has the defence or counter-punching abilities to defend against Osaka. And I think if you go blow for blow with Osaka, then she'll out-hit you off the court as well. But this tournament is wide open. My pick is Naomi Osaka, but as I say, there's 25-30 players that could turn up and win this event, and it wouldn't really be a surprise. In terms of picking about an outsider, I am going to go with Aryna Sabalenka, who I've talked a little bit about in this channel before. I think she can certainly be a top 5 player in the next 18 months to 2 years. At just 21 years old, I think she's got huge ability and an all-round game that will see her climb the rankings very soon. She hasn't really stamped her authority in a Grand Slam yet, but perhaps this is the one. Perhaps she can come out the woodwork and turn up and win her maiden Grand Slam title, like Sofia Kenin did back in 2020. My full men's preview and prediction video will be on the channel very soon as well, if you do want to watch that. So to keep updated with this event and the men's, do subscribe to the channel, as I'll be posting daily videos throughout the 2021 Australian Open, and also covering lots more tennis later in the year. Finally, leave your tournament predictions in the comments below, and I will see you on the next video.